The stars stretched out in a cold, unyielding expanse, a reminder of humanity's fragile place in the galaxy. As the Odyssey cruised through the void, her engines humming like the heart of a restless giant, I couldn't help but marvel at how far we had come and how much further we had to go. "This is Captain Rogers, mission number 7. I recorded into the log. The weight of every mission seemed to settle in my voice, a mix of duty and determination. "We've crossed into the uncharted sectors of the Perseus Arm, chasing the rumors of the indestructible fleets of the Galactic Empire. Rumors. Until they weren't. The Empire's ships were a marvel of alien engineering, massive constructs impervious to every known weapon. For centuries, they had crushed rebellions and silenced uprisings with cold efficiency. Humanity's attempts to engage them had always ended the same way, utter devastation. Yet here we were, a lone Earth vessel carrying whispers of an impossible truth. Earth's defenses had managed to bring down one of their ships, a single, inexplicable victory against an empire that spanned millennia. The details were classified, locked tighter than Fort Knox, but Command wanted answers, and fast. My crew and I had been sent to investigate. I leaned back in my chair, watching the holographic projection of a shattered Empire cruiser rotate slowly. Its hull was blackened, its once majestic spires reduced to jagged edges. How had primitive human anti-aircraft fire, a relic compared to modern orbital defenses, managed to cripple one of these beasts? "Captain," the voice of my first officer, Commander Eliza McCall, broke my reverie. She stood by the viewport, her silhouette framed by the swirling colors of a distant nebula. "We're approaching the debris field. Scanners are picking up unusual readings." "Define unusual," I replied, pushing myself to my feet. "Residual energy signatures that don't match any known Empire technology," she said, her brow furrowed. "And there's something else, some kind of signal. It's faint, but it's there." A signal. My gut tightened. An instinct honed from years of combat and exploration. Signals meant survivors, or traps. "Helm, bring us in slow," I ordered. "McCall, I want a full scan of that debris. If there's anything alive out there, I want to know before it knows us." The hum of the ship's system shifted as the Odyssey adjusted course. On the bridge, the crew moved with quiet efficiency, their faces illuminated by the glow of their consoles. I could see the tension in their eyes, the unspoken fear of what lay ahead. The Empire's reputation was a weight that pressed on all of us. As we closed the distance, the debris field came into view, a chaotic graveyard of twisted metal and shattered components. Pieces of the once indomitable vessel drifted aimlessly, a stark reminder of its downfall. "Sir," McCall said, her voice tinged with disbelief, "I'm picking up something human in the wreckage. Old tech, very old. Pre-space flight era. It doesn't make sense." I stared at the holographic display, my mind racing. Pre-space flight? That could only mean one thing. Something from Earth, and from a time when humanity hadn't even dreamed of reaching the stars. "Patch me through to engineering," I said, the edge in my voice unmistakable. "And get the science team ready. We're going to need answers." As the Odyssey moved closer, I couldn't shake the feeling that we were standing on the edge of something monumental. The stars outside seemed to watch, silent witnesses to a truth that had been hidden for far too long. I took a deep breath and steadied myself. Whatever lay ahead, one thing was certain. The galaxy was about to change, and humanity would be at the center of it. The debris field stretched before us, a glimmering testament to the impossible. The Galactic Empire's reputation for invincibility lay in ruins, and amidst it, the faint traces of humanity's forgotten past whispered secrets we weren't meant to know. "Science team standing by," McCall announced, her voice steady but her posture tense. "We've isolated the signal source. It's coming from an intact fragment, looks like a sealed compartment. Can we get a visual?" I asked. A holographic feed sprang to life above the console, revealing the fragment. It was an unassuming piece of wreckage, no larger than a small transport pod, but its surface bore markings that sent a chill down my spine. Old Earth insignias barely legible through centuries of wear. "That's impossible," whispered Dr. Carter, our lead scientist, as he stepped closer. That emblem, it's from the 1940s, Second World War era. I frowned, my mind racing. World War II tech? Out here, in the middle of the galaxy, embedded in an Empire ship? Carter nodded, his expression a mix of awe and disbelief. It looks like the fragment's been repurposed, integrated into their systems. But how or why? It's here as anyone's guess. Captain, McCall interrupted. We've also detected faint life signs near the signal. Could be survivors, or something worse. I locked eyes with her. Send out a drone for recon. Let's see what we're dealing with before we risk the crew. The bridge fell silent as the drone deployed, a sleek, spider-like machine weaving its way through the wreckage. Its camera feed displayed jagged shards of metal and flickering conduits, each turn revealing more of the devastation. Then, the compartment came into view. The drone paused, scanning the surface before extending a manipulator arm to pry open the hatch. Inside, a humanoid figure lay motionless, clad in what appeared to be a hybrid of Empire armor and something older. The drone sensors confirmed the life signs, weak but stable. Bring it aboard, I ordered. Sir, McCall interjected. We don't know if it's hostile. Then we'll take precautions, I replied. But if this thing is carrying answers, we can't leave it out there. Minutes later, the airlock cycled, and the figure was brought into the med bay under heavy guard. I followed close behind, my hand resting on the sidearm holstered at my hip. As the med team began their analysis, the figure stirred. It was human, or at least it had been once. The face beneath the helmet was gaunt, its eyes a dull gray that flickered with recognition as it focused on me. You're human, it rasped, its voice a broken whisper. And so are you, I replied cautiously. Who are you? How did you get here? The figure struggled to sit up, its movements slow and labored. I was once. Name's Lieutenant Colonel Maxwell Hayes. United States Army Air Forces, 1944. The room fell into stunned silence. 1944? McCall echoed, her skepticism evident. That's not possible. It is, Hayes said grimly. I was part of a test, an experimental weapon. The Empire found us, took us, and used us. He coughed, his frailty apparent. We thought we'd stop them. Guess we were wrong. What weapon? I demanded, leaning closer. Project Atlas, Hayes replied, his voice barely above a whisper. A device designed to interfere with advanced propulsion systems, primitive by today's standards, but effective. The Empire, they underestimated us. Thought they could strip it for parts, but it still works. That's what brought them down. The pieces began to fall into place, a horrifying picture of the Empire scavenging Earth's early experiments and accidentally creating their own vulnerability. Why are you still alive? McCall asked, her tone hard. They kept me alive, Hayes said, his voice tinged with bitterness. A relic of their conquest, a reminder of their invincibility. Until now. Before I could ask more, alarms blared across the ship. Captain, shouted Ensign Riley from the bridge. We've got company. Empire ships incoming. Damn it, I muttered, turning to McCall. Get us to battle stations. Carter, see what you can salvage from this Project Atlas. If it's the key to taking them down, I want it operational. Hayes grabbed my arm with surprising strength. Listen to me, he said urgently. They won't stop until they erase every trace of this failure. If you want to survive, you need to think like them. Ruthless, efficient. Use their arrogance against them. Noted, I said, pulling free. As the Odyssey prepared for battle, I felt the weight of the moment settle on my shoulders. The stakes had never been higher, and the truth was clear. Humanity had a weapon the Empire feared, and it was up to us to wield it before it was too late. The bridge was bathed in crimson light as the Odyssey shifted into combat mode. The approaching Empire ships were massive, their sleek hulls gliding through the void like predators closing in for the kill. Every instinct I'd honed in war screamed at me to move, act, and outthink them. But this wasn't Earth. This was the Galactic Empire, and their ships didn't fall easily. Status report, I barked, gripping the edge of my command console. 2 heavy cruisers and a frigate, McCall replied, her tone clipped but controlled. They've spotted us and they're closing fast. Carter, I called out. Still analyzing the data from Project Atlas. Dr. Carter's voice crackled over the intercom. But if Hayes is right, we can modify the ship's targeting systems to mimic the weapon's interference pattern. It might disrupt their shields, but we'll need time. Time was the one thing we didn't have. The Empire ships were already in firing range. Helm, evasive maneuvers. I ordered. Weapons, keep them busy. Don't let them get a clean shot. The Odyssey lurched as it banked hard, evading a barrage of plasma fire. Explosions lit up the darkness, casting eerie shadows across the bridge. They're not holding back, McCall muttered. They never do, I replied grimly. They want us dead, and they want whatever's left of Project Atlas gone. In the med bay, Hayes was strapped to a gurney, his face pale but determined. I patched into his feed. Hayes, if you've got anything else to share, now's the time, I said. There's a failsafe, he rasped. A core frequency, the key to overloading their systems. But you'll need to get close. Real close. Close. Against Empire ships, that was as good as suicide. Carter, I said, switching channels. Focus on that frequency. Hayes says it's our only shot. I'm on it, Carter replied, his voice tense. The Odyssey rocked as another volley grazed the hull. Sparks flew from a nearby console, and alarms wailed. Shields down to 63%. McCall shouted. They're toying with us, I muttered, testing our limits. The holographic display lit up as one of the cruisers moved into an intercept position, its weapons charged, glowing with an ominous blue light. Captain, McCall exclaimed, they're targeting our engines. Not if I can help it, I replied. Helm, bring us in close to the debris field. Use it as cover. The Odyssey plunged into the chaotic expanse of twisted metal, weaving between jagged shards and unstable wreckage. The Empire ships hesitated, their size making them less agile in the tight confines. Captain, the frigate's breaking off, McCall noted. Good, I said. They think they've boxed us in. Let's prove them wrong. As the cruisers adjusted their positions, Carter's voice came through the intercom. Captain, I've isolated the frequency. We can pulse it through the main deflector, but it's a one-shot deal. The energy drain will leave us vulnerable. What's the range? I asked. 500 meters, maybe less, Carter replied. I grimaced. 500 meters was practically point-blank range in a fight like this. Prepare the deflector, I said. McCall, plot a course to get us that close. Understood, she replied, her hands flying over the controls. The Odyssey surged forward, engines roaring as it darted between debris. The nearest cruiser loomed ahead, its massive bulk casting a shadow over the battlefield. They're locking onto us, McCall warned. Hold course, I said, my voice steady. Weapons, keep their fire concentrated on the port side. Make them think we're more damaged than we are. The ship shuddered as another hit glanced off the shields. Sparks rained down, and a console erupted in flames. Shields at 29%. McCall called out. Almost there, I said. The cruiser's weapons lit up, preparing to fire, but before they could, the Odyssey closed the gap. Carter now, I shouted. The deflector pulsed, a blinding wave of energy radiating outward. The cruiser's shields flickered and then collapsed entirely. Its hull groaned as systems overloaded, sending plumes of fire and debris into the void. It's working, McCall exclaimed. Don't celebrate yet, I warned. The second cruiser was already moving to intercept, and the frigate had returned, cutting off our escape route. Helm, full power to engines, I ordered. Get us out of here. The Odyssey surged forward, leaving the crippled cruiser behind. But the frigate was faster, closing in with lethal intent. They're targeting the bridge, McCall shouted. I gritted my teeth. Weapons, fire everything we've got at their engines. We need to slow them down. The Odyssey unleashed a barrage, striking the frigate's aft section. Explosions rippled along its hull, but it wasn't enough to stop it. Captain, Carter's voice came through. The pulse drained most of our reserves. We don't have another shot. Before I could respond, Hayes's voice cut in. Use me, he said. What? I asked, incredulous. The failsafe, the core frequency. It's still in me. I can trigger it manually, but I'll need to be aboard one of their ships. That's suicide, I said. Maybe, Hayes replied, but I've been a ghost long enough. Let me finish what we started. I hesitated, the weight of the decision pressing down on me. Every instinct told me to refuse, but Hayes's eyes burned with conviction. You're sure about this? I asked. Damn sure, he said. I nodded. McCall, prep a shuttle. We're sending Hayes in. As the team moved to carry out the plan, I couldn't shake the feeling that this was only the beginning. The Empire wasn't just hunting us. They were protecting something far bigger than we realized. The shuttle departed from the Odyssey like a lone spark cast into the night, carrying Lieutenant Colonel Maxwell Hayes and the last remnants of a bygone war. The Empire's ships loomed ahead, relentless and imposing. My grip on the command console tightened as I watched the small craft approach the enemy frigate. Shuttle nearing target, McCall reported, her voice low but steady. The Empire hasn't opened fire yet. I don't think they see it as a threat. They will soon enough, I replied grimly. Hayes's voice crackled through the comms, calm despite the odds. Captain, you're going to need to keep their attention on you. If they figure out what I'm doing before I can overload their systems, this is all for nothing. Understood, I said. We'll give you all the time we can. The Odyssey veered back into the fray, weapons blazing as we targeted the second cruiser. The enemy responded with brutal precision, their plasma cannons lighting up the void. The ship shuddered violently as another barrage struck our weakened shields. Shields at 15%. McCall called out. Divert auxiliary power to the shield generators, I ordered, and keep firing. Let them think we're desperate. The cruiser turned its full attention to us, its weapons charging for a devastating strike. They're going for the kill, Captain, McCall said, her expression grim. Not yet, they're not, I muttered. Helm, prepare to execute a hard burn. We're going to run right under their nose. As the Odyssey surged forward, skimming dangerously close to the cruiser's hull, the shuttle carrying Hayes slipped unnoticed into the hangar of the enemy frigate. Inside the frigate, Hayes moved with purpose, his frail body seemingly bolstered by sheer willpower. Through his helmet cam, we could see the cold, metallic corridors of the Empire ship, illuminated by the eerie glow of alien machinery. They've adapted our tech, he said, his voice tinged with both awe and anger. But they never understood it. That's their mistake. Hayes, you're almost to the core, Carter said, guiding him remotely. Once you're in position, the failsafe will trigger a cascading feedback loop. It'll disable their propulsion and weapons. Maybe more. Understood, Hayes replied. Just keep those bastards busy up there. Back on the Odyssey, we were doing just that. The cruiser fired relentlessly, its shots grazing our hull as we weaved through the debris field. Engines are overheating, McCall shouted. Push them harder, I replied. We've got no choice. The frigate, realizing its vulnerability, began to pull away from the battle, its weapons targeting the debris field to cut off Hayes' shuttle. They know, McCall said, panic creeping into her voice. Not fast enough, I said. Weapons, target the frigate's hangar bay. Give Hayes some breathing room. The Odyssey unleashed a volley of railgun fire, striking the frigate's hangar doors and sending a chain reaction of explosions through its interior. Inside the frigate, Hayes reached the core, a pulsating, alien engine surrounded by a lattice of Earth's World War II-era tech. He paused, his breath labored as he placed his hand against the failsafe's activation panel. It's been an honor, Captain, he said quietly. Hayes, I started, but the line cut off as the failsafe activated. The frigate's core erupted in a burst of light, tendrils of energy arcing through the ship. From the Odyssey, we watched as the frigate shuddered and then went dark, its systems fried by the cascading overload. "Captain," Carter said, his voice breaking the stunned silence. "The pulse, it's affecting the cruiser too. Their systems are going offline." "Helm, put distance between us and those ships," I ordered. The Odyssey limped away as the Empire ships floundered, their once impervious systems rendered useless. Explosions rippled through the second cruiser as its power core destabilized, sending shockwaves through the debris field. In the aftermath, the bridge was eerily quiet. The Empire ships were reduced to drifting hulks, their invincibility shattered. But at what cost? "Any sign of the shuttle?" I asked softly. McCall shook her head. "It was destroyed in the blast, Captain." I nodded, the weight of the loss settling heavily on my shoulders. Hayes had given us a fighting chance, and a glimmer of hope in the face of overwhelming odds. "Carter," I said, "analyze everything we recovered. If we can replicate that failsafe, we might just have a weapon to turn this war around." "Aye, Captain," he replied. I turned to McCall, my voice steady despite the ache in my chest. "Send a message to Earth. Tell them, we found the cracks in the Empire's armor." As the Odyssey drifted away from the wreckage, the stars seemed a little less cold, a little less indifferent. Humanity had struck a blow against the Empire, and though the cost had been high, the spark of resistance had been reignited. I sat back in the captain's chair, gazing out at the endless expanse of space. "Until next time, stay curious and keep looking up," I murmured. "I'll see you on the next adventure."